The wind howled through Lockhart, Texas, as Zara Owens ran for her life, her tattered skirt whipping against her legs and her heart pounding in her ears. Behind her, the thundering hoofbeats of her husband's horse grew closer, the coiled rope in Silas Owens' hand ready to snare her like a wild animal. 3 years of marriage had taught Zara exactly what those hands were capable of, and tonight she decided death in the wilderness was preferable to another minute under his roof. It was 1875, and in the unforgiving Texas frontier, a woman had few rights and even fewer options. Zara's wedding band, once a symbol of hope, had become a shackle. At 24, she was running from the man who'd promised to cherish her, but instead had broken her spirit along with her bones. "You can't hide from me, Zara." Silas's voice carried on the wind, slurred from whiskey but no less terrifying. "A wife belongs with her husband." Zara stumbled on the rough terrain, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The moonlight that illuminated her escape path also betrayed her location. She veered toward a cluster of trees, praying they might offer cover. Her lungs burned and her legs trembled with exhaustion. She'd managed to grab her mother's locket before fleeing, but nothing else. No food, no water, just the clothes on her back and the desperate hope for freedom. The sound of a different horse approaching made Zara's heart sink. She couldn't outrun 2 riders, but when she glanced over her shoulder, she saw a stranger on a palomino cutting between her and Silas. The rider's tall silhouette was backlit by the moon, his hat pulled low over his eyes. "Get out of my way," Silas bellowed. "That's my wife you're interfering with." The stranger's voice was steady and deep. "The lady seems unwilling, friend. This ain't your business, cowboy. Move aside or I'll move you." Zara collapsed behind a boulder, her legs finally giving out. She watched as the stranger dismounted, his movements fluid and confident. He stood firmly between her and Silas. "Madam," the stranger called over his shoulder without taking his eyes off Silas, "are you in need of assistance?" Before Zara could answer, Silas charged forward, rope whirling above his head. The stranger sidestepped with surprising grace, catching the rope as it flew past and yanking it hard. Silas, unprepared for the counterattack, tumbled from his horse, landing heavily in the dirt. In the blink of an eye, the stranger had Silas pinned, a knee pressed firmly against his chest. "I believe the lady was running from you for good reason," the stranger said, his voice dangerously quiet, "and I'm making it my business." Silas struggled, his face contorted with rage. "She's my property, the law's on my side." The stranger leaned closer. "You'll never run from him again, madam," he called to Zara, then returned his attention to Silas, "because he won't be chasing anyone anymore." A swift punch rendered Silas unconscious, and the stranger rose to his feet, dusting off his hands on his denim pants. He approached Zara slowly, hands visible to show he meant no harm. In the moonlight, Zara could now see her rescuer clearly. He was tall and lean, with kind eyes that contrasted with the hardness of his jaw. His brown hair curled slightly at the nape of his neck, and a small scar traced his left eyebrow. "Name's Lucas Archer, madam, ranch hand at the Triple Crown, few miles west of here." He extended a weathered hand to help her up. "Might I ask what had you running through the prairie at this hour?" Zara hesitated before accepting his help, her eyes darting to Silas's still form. "Zara Owens, that's my husband, ex-husband if I have any say in it." Lucas nodded grimly. "I figured as much. No woman runs like that unless she's fleeing something worse than the dangers of the wild." He glanced at her bruised wrists, visible where her sleeves had pulled back. "He do that to you?" Zara pulled her sleeves down reflexively, shame coloring her cheeks despite herself. "Among other things." Lucas's jaw tightened. "Madam, I can take you to town, but—" He hesitated. "The law might not see things your way. Marriage is considered sacred, even when it ain't right." "I have nowhere to go," Zara admitted, the reality of her situation crashing down on her. "No family, no money." Lucas looked thoughtful, then whistled for his horse. "Triple Crown is always looking for help. Cook just left, and Mrs. Sullivan's been complaining about handling the meals alone. You know your way around a kitchen," hope flickered in Zara's chest. "I can cook clean, so." "Anything needed. It ain't much, but it's honest work and a safe roof." Lucas offered his hand again, "And I give you my word he won't find you there." As Silas began to stir, Lucas helped Zara onto his horse before mounting behind her. "Hold tight," he whispered, and they rode away, leaving Silas cursing in the dust. The Triple Crown Ranch sprawled across acres of Texas hill country, its main house a two-story wooden structure with a wide porch. When they arrived at dawn, Mrs. Sullivan, a plump woman with graying hair and sharp eyes, looked Zara over critically. "Another stray, Lucas?" she asked, but there was no malice in her voice. "She needs work and safety, Mrs. Sullivan, and you need help in the kitchen." The older woman's expression softened when she noticed Zara's bruises. "Come inside, child. Let's get you cleaned up and fed before we talk business." Over the following days, Zara settled into life at the Triple Crown. Mrs. Sullivan proved to be a kind-hearted taskmaster, teaching Zara the rhythms of ranch life. She prepared meals for the ranch hands, mended clothes, and gradually felt the knot of fear in her stomach begin to loosen. Lucas kept his distance, respectful of her situation, but Zara often caught him watching her from across the yard. He was different from the other ranch hands, quieter, more thoughtful. He read books by lamplight and treated the horses with gentle patience. 2 weeks after her arrival, Lucas found Zara sitting on the porch steps after dinner, staring at the stars. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. Zara moved over, making space. "Thank you again for everything. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't come along that night." Lucas settled beside her, leaving a respectable distance. "I'm just glad I was riding back from town at that hour." He paused. "If you don't mind me asking, how did you end up with a man like that?" Zara's fingers found her mother's locket, a habit when she was nervous. "I was young, naive. My parents died of fever when I was 19. Silas was charming, offered stability. He changed after the wedding, started small criticism, controlling where I went, who I spoke to. Then came the hitting." Lucas's fists clenched, but his voice remained gentle. "None of that was your fault." "I know that now, but when you hear something enough times, you start to believe it." Zara released the locket. "What about you? How did you end up at Triple Crown?" Lucas smiled faintly. "War orphan, parents died when I was young. Found work where I could, learned to ride, break horses. Mr. Sullivan gave me a chance 5 years back. Been here since." Their conversations became a nightly ritual, sharing stories under the vast Texas sky. Lucas told her about his dreams of saving enough to buy his own small ranch someday. Zara spoke of her childhood in Tennessee before her family moved west seeking opportunity. As spring bloomed across the ranch, Zara found herself watching for Lucas whenever he rode out with the other men. His smile made her heart flutter in ways she'd forgotten were possible. But the memory of Silas shadowed her, a dark reminder of what trusting a man had cost her before. One afternoon, while hanging laundry, Zara spotted a rider approaching. Her blood froze when she recognized Silas's silhouette. She dropped the sheets and ran for the house, colliding with Lucas in the doorway. "He's here," she gasped. "Silas found me." Lucas's expression hardened. "Stay inside with Mrs. Sullivan, I'll handle this." Through the window, Zara watched as Lucas strode to meet Silas, who had stopped at the edge of the property. The other ranch hands, sensing trouble, positioned themselves nearby, hands resting casually on their weapons. "I've come for my wife," Silas called out, his voice carrying across the yard. "There's no one here by that description," Lucas replied evenly. "I suggest you move along," Silas sneered. "The law's on my side, cowboy. She's my wife in the eyes of God and Texas." "And what does the law say about the bruises on her arms?" Lucas stepped closer. "Or the fear in her eyes whenever your name is mentioned? A man has the right to discipline his household." Silas's hand inched toward his gun. "Now I'm not leaving without what's mine." In a flash, Lucas drew his weapon, faster than Zara had ever seen anyone move. "You're trespassing on Triple Crown land. Leave now, or I'll have the boys escort you to the sheriff for that." Outnumbered and outdrawn, Silas's confidence wavered. His eyes darted to the house, finding Zara in the window. "This ain't over," he growled before turning his horse and riding away. That night, Zara couldn't sleep. She paced her small room, jumping at every sound. A soft knock on her door startled her. "Zara, it's Lucas. Can I speak with you?" She opened the door to find him looking troubled, a folded paper in his hand. "I rode to town after Silas left, asked some questions." He handed her the paper. "This is from Judge Wilson. It's not a divorce, that's nearly impossible to get, but it's a legal separation. Means Silas can't claim you or your property. It's rare, but the judge owed me a favor, and I had witnesses to what happened that night." Zara's hands trembled as she took the document. Is this real? Will it hold? It's as good as we can get for now, but Zara, he won't stop. Men like him don't give up what they think is theirs. Lucas ran a hand through his hair. I've been thinking. I have a friend in Colorado, runs a ranch bigger than this one. He'd hire you in a heartbeat, somewhere Silas would never find you. The thought of leaving caused an unexpected pain in Zara's chest. And you, would you be there? Lucas looked away. My place is here, for now. Zara stepped closer, finding courage she didn't know she had. What if I don't want to run anymore? What if I'm tired of letting fear decide my path? Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. Lucas reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Then we face whatever comes, together. Summer arrived with scorching heat that slowed life at the Triple Crown to a languid pace. Zara and Lucas's relationship blossomed cautiously, built on mutual respect and growing affection. He never touched her without permission, always conscious of her past. She learned to trust again, one day at a time. During a rare afternoon off, Lucas took Zara riding, showing her his favorite spot on the property, a small pond shaded by ancient oak trees. They sat by the water, talking about everything and nothing. I never thought I could feel this way again, Zara admitted, watching dragonflies skim the water's surface. Happy, safe. Lucas picked up a flat stone, skipping it across the pond. You deserve both those things, Zara, always have. When she looked at him, she found him already watching her, his eyes filled with something that made her breath catch. Slowly, giving her every chance to move away, Lucas leaned forward and kissed her. Soft, gentle, asking rather than demanding. Zara's heart soared as she kissed him back, feeling for the first time what love was supposed to be. Not possession, not control, but partnership. Their peace was shattered 2 weeks later when one of the ranch hands rode in frantically, his horse lathered with sweat. Lucas, town's in trouble. Silas Owens and some rough types are tearing up the saloon, demanding information about his wife. They've already beaten the barkeep. Lucas's expression darkened. How many? 5, including Owens. Lucas turned to Zara. Stay here, we'll handle this. No, Zara straightened her shoulders. I'm coming with you, this is my fight too. Zara, it's too dangerous, I ran once. I won't spend my life running. Her voice was steady despite her racing heart. Besides, Silas won't stop until he sees me. This ends today, one way or another. Lucas studied her face, then nodded. Stay close to me. The ride to town was tense, with Lucas, Zara, and 4 other ranch hands moving at a gallop. As they approached the main street, they could hear the commotion from the saloon. Wait here, Lucas instructed the others. If things go south, get Zara out. He helped her down from his horse. Ready? Zara took a deep breath. Ready. They entered the saloon to find chaos, tables overturned, glass shattered on the floor. Silas stood at the center, whiskey bottle in hand, a gun on his hip. His face was flushed with drink and rage. Well, look who finally showed up, Silas slurred, catching sight of them. My loving wife and her protector. Lucas positioned himself slightly in front of Zara. This has gone far enough, Owens. You're causing trouble in a peaceful town. Trouble, Silas laughed bitterly. The only trouble here is a wife who doesn't know her place and a man who thinks he can steal what belongs to another. Zara stepped forward, refusing to hide. I don't belong to anyone, Silas, not anymore. That paper doesn't mean anything, Silas spat. Till death do us part, remember. One of Silas's companions moved toward Zara, but Lucas was faster, blocking his path. Don't. The tension in the room was palpable, a powder keg waiting for a spark. Silas's hand hovered near his gun. Step aside, Cowboy, this is between me and my wife. Ex-wife, Zara corrected, her voice stronger than she felt. And if you were half the man Lucas is, you'd respect that. Silas's face contorted with fury. You think you're better than me now, living with your cowboy, spreading your Lucas moved so quickly that Silas didn't have time to draw. One moment he was standing there, the next he had Silas by the collar, pressing him against the bar. You don't speak to her like that, ever. One of Silas's men pulled his gun, but before he could aim, the saloon doors burst open and the sheriff strode in, shotgun in hand. That's enough. Sheriff Davis commanded. What in tarnation is going on here? The next hour was a blur of explanations and accusations. Silas claimed his legal right to his wife. Zara produced the separation papers. Witnesses from the saloon testified about Silas's threats and destruction of property. Finally, Sheriff Davis made his judgment. Mr. Owens, legal separation or not, you've disturbed the peace, destroyed property, and threatened citizens of my town. I'm locking you up until the circuit judge arrives next week. He turned to Zara. Madam, I can't rule on your marriage, but I can ensure this man doesn't bother you while he's in my jurisdiction. Relief washed over Zara as she watched the sheriff lead Silas and his companions away. When they were gone, she sagged against Lucas, the adrenaline leaving her system. It's over, Lucas murmured, holding her close. For now, at least. What happens when he gets out? Zara asked, voicing the fear that still lingered. Lucas looked thoughtful. I've been saving to buy land up north near the Wyoming territory. New start, new place where nobody knows us. He paused, suddenly uncertain. That is, if you'd want to come with me. Zara's heart swelled. Are you asking me to run away with you, Lucas Archer? A smile tugged at his lips. I'm asking if you'd consider building a life with me, somewhere Silas can't shadow us, not running away moving forward. Together. Zara answered him with a kiss, right there in the middle of the saloon, ignoring the whistles and cheers from the remaining patrons. The circuit judge arrived the following week, and Zara found herself testifying about the abuse she'd suffered. It wasn't easy, laying bare the darkest chapters of her life. But Lucas sat behind her the entire time, a steady presence. To everyone's surprise, the judge not only upheld the separation, but sentenced Silas to 6 months in jail for his behavior in town and the documented abuse. It wasn't the complete freedom of divorce, but it was more justice than Zara had dared hope for. Use this time wisely, the judge advised her privately after the hearing. In some territories, abandonment for a year or more can be grounds for divorce if you were to relocate. Zara understood the implication. A fresh start somewhere beyond Silas's reach could eventually mean complete legal freedom. That evening, sitting on the porch of the Triple Crown, Zara and Lucas planned their future. With his savings and her skills in cooking and sewing, they could make a go of a small ranch in Wyoming. Mrs. Sullivan cried when they told her of their plans, but gave them her blessing along with her best cast iron skillet as a parting gift. 2 weeks later, with their belongings packed in a wagon and goodbyes said to the friends who'd become family, Lucas and Zara headed north. The journey would be long and not without hardship, but as they crossed into Indian territory, Zara felt only excitement for what lay ahead. They traveled through summer and early fall, working odd jobs along the way to supplement their savings. Lucas broke horses at ranches they passed, while Zara cooked for trail crews and mended clothes. By the time they reached southern Wyoming, the first snow was dusting the mountains. The land Lucas had corresponded about purchasing was even more beautiful than described a valley nestled between rolling hills, with a creek running through it, and enough flat land for both cattle and crops. The previous owner, an aging rancher with no heirs, was eager to sell to someone who would love the land as he had. What do you think? Lucas asked as they stood on a rise overlooking what would be their home. It's smaller than Triple Crown, but it's ours. Zara squeezed his hand. It's perfect. They were married that December by a traveling preacher, a simple ceremony with neighbors from nearby homesteads as witnesses. Legally, Zara was still tied to Silas, but in her heart and in the eyes of their community, she was Mrs. Lucas Archer. Their first year was hard work building proper fences, expanding the small cabin, acquiring livestock. But for the first time in her life, Zara felt truly free. No fear shadowed her steps, no dread greeted her at the end of each day. Instead, there was Lucas's smile when he came in from the fields, his gentle touch in their bed, his unwavering respect for her thoughts and feelings. News reached them the following spring that Silas had been released from jail only to be killed in a saloon fight in Dallas. Zara felt nothing but a distant pity for the man who had once held such power over her. Are you all right? Lucas asked when she told him the news. Yes, Zara realized she meant it. Silas stopped having any claim on my happiness the night you found me running across that field. She touched his cheek. You said I would never run from him again, and you were right. You gave me the strength to stand my ground. By their second anniversary, the ranch which they had named New Dawn was thriving. They had 6 hands working for them, 30 head of cattle, and a reputation for fair dealings. When Zara discovered she was expecting their first child, the joy that filled their home seemed to spill over onto the land itself. making everything they'd built feel even more precious. On a warm evening in early summer, with the scent of wildflowers drifting through open windows, Lucas and Zara sat on their porch watching the sunset paint the Wyoming sky in brilliant hues of gold and purple. "I was thinking," Lucas said, his hand resting gently on Zara's growing belly, "if it's a girl, maybe we could name her after your mother," Zara smiled, covering his hand with her own. "I'd like that, and if it's a boy, something strong but kind, like his mother." Zara leaned her head against his shoulder. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't been riding by that night?" Lucas was quiet for a moment. "I used to believe things happened for a reason. Now I'm certain of it." He kissed her temple. "Finding you was the best kind of fate." As darkness settled over New Dawn Ranch and stars appeared in the vast Wyoming sky, Zara thought about the journey that had brought her here. From a terrified woman running for her life to a wife, soon-to-be mother, and co-owner of a thriving ranch. The rope that had once threatened to bind her had instead led her to freedom she'd never imagined possible. "You know," she whispered, "I'm not running anymore, but I'm still breathless." Lucas laughed softly. "Is that right, Mrs. Archer? She confirmed, turning to face him. "But only when you look at me like that." His kiss was still gentle, still asking rather than taking, but now it carried the confidence of love tested and proven true. As they went inside their home, hand in hand, Zara knew with absolute certainty that while the Wild West might be untamed, the love they had built was the safest place she would ever know.